Oh, well, there you are again, friends and family. So good to see you again. Yeah, as always, you're always welcome here in Mr. Tom's neighborhood. Here on July the 31st. Can you believe it? 2023. We made it all the way through. And it's that time of the morning. You know, we've got the kitties fed, and it's time to walk all of our garden plantings. You know, the walkabout. We do it every morning and a couple of times during the day. But since you decided to stop in, you want to walk with the old man today? Well, if you do, come along and let's see what we got growing in my little piece of paradise in the deep south of Alabama. Okay? Well, before we get doing the tour, or walkabout as we call it, yeah, you're going to notice Spooky here is up in the pecan tree, which is rather unusual. But he's been trying to play with the squirrels. Weren't you playing with the squirrels? Yeah, I'll bet you were just playing, weren't you? Were you just playing? Yeah. Okay. Yep. You might want to leave the squirrels alone. Yeah, for the most part, they're quicker than he is. But he loves to try. Don't you, Spooky? You Papa's boy. Well, as long as you just play, and you don't do anything else with the squirrels, okay? Yeah. It's like talking to the dirt, ain't it? Yep, he's a kitty. They'll do what kitties do. What can you do? But let's head on back and start our walkabout today. So we're going to start it right here at the blueberries. It may be hard to believe, but the blueberries are still producing here on July the 31st. Yeah, they're getting few, and they haven't really got up to size this year. Some have, some haven't. You know, here's a nice one right here. And this time of year, you sort of got to be careful, because some are starting to dry up a little bit, and they're not going to be quite as tasty. But here's a good example. There's two rather larger ones, and one rather small one. Let's give them a try. You want some? They're juicy though, and there's a good reason for that. The reason being, we got some ample rainfall last night. It all started in the early afternoon, probably around 1 o'clock, and then it would continue on throughout the afternoon, early evening, and probably finished up around 8 o'clock. Now look at those. Those are fairly nice, right? So there are still a lot of luscious, plump, juicy blueberries to be had. Here, if you don't mind, I'm going to go ahead and try these. Oh yeah. I don't know if you can hear that juice. Sorry for the smacking. But on this particular bush, there looks to be plenty. But I can tell you, they've been rather small, and they've been rather tart. Yep. They didn't size up well this year on this particular bush. Early on, they did, and they were rather yummy. But I guess the heat got to them, and the berries stayed rather small and quite tart. If you have blueberries, and because of all the heat we've had starting early on, let me know if it's affected your blueberries as well in the tartness or sweetness or juiciness of them. I think we'd all like to know. But there's no better way to enjoy them than come out every morning and just eat as many as you can, and always picking enough to go through the day, and I leave the rest for the birds to enjoy. I don't know where the mockingbirds are right now, but if they knew me and Spooky were here, they'd be diving down upon our heads. Now how much longer what we still have juicy ripe blueberries? I'm thinking the first to second week in August. And they'll just be a fond memory. Well, Spooky, I guess we'll go over and check the fig tree. You want to go check the fig tree with Papa? Huh? No? Oh, you'll come along? That'd be nice of you. Where's Cleo and Speedy? They're hanging out somewhere. Oh, there's the mockingbird. He's over here at the fig tree. Well, I'm over here at the blueberries. Yeah. And as always, every year, it's sort of an ongoing war with the birds, as you all know, to see who gets the figs. This year, I've sort of been on top of it. I've gotten 10, and so far, unless the mockingbird was just munching on one, they've gotten 3. Most years, it's the other way around. They got one from me yesterday. I let it try to get too ripe. See, I've been trying to snatch them off before they get just all the way ripe. I'm not sure if they'll ripen any more inside or not, but I've been doing it in an attempt for me to eat more of my figs than the birds do. Now, if you see a nice ripe fig, let me know. Now this one, we're gonna have to watch it close today because it's starting to ripen too. Now I'll tell you what, if you don't got a fig bush or fig tree in your yard, at least 1 or 2, you should highly consider it. They're so easy to grow. You don't do much. In fact, this one, pretty much haven't done hardly anything except fertilize it, mulch it with grass clippings and leaf clippings. Yeah. Water it on occasion. We watered it yesterday because we hadn't had no rain in nearly a week. And then, of course, it rained pretty much for several hours yesterday afternoon into early evening. But that's okay. Come on, Spooky. You can walk with Papa. Okay? You be with Papa? You're going to get all over my feet, aren't you? Yeah, he is. Uh-oh. Our feathered friends, they're low on feed. Spooky. Spooky, write it down. Need to feed the feathered friends. He don't care. They got plenty on the ground. Yeah, the littler birds throw the stuff they don't like out. The squirrel comes by and they'll eat the cracked corn. Of course, squirrels will get up and feed her too. Throw stuff everywhere, and I have to shoo them off. You would think my kitty crew would, but they're normally asleep when the squirrels descend from the sky in the midday sun. They know when the kitties are all asleep. And as far as the kitty crew's cucumber experiment, over here at the northeast side of the house, where we had 2 of the straight 8 heirloom cucumbers growing and 2 of the Bonnie burpless bush hybrids growing. Well, we've lost one to that bacteria wilt. And it does appear we're going to lose another one. I can see the first signs of the bacteria wilt. Now granted, I have not seen a cucumber beetle, whether of either type, the striped or the spotted. That doesn't mean one didn't sneak through. There's still cucumber there. That's one's for the straight 8. Yeah, maybe we'll get it before the plants succumb to the diseases. Because the powdery mildew, even though we've been spraying it, yeah, it's not on the outside of the leaf, but it's infected the vascular system. And I think it's spreading throughout the straight 8 vines. We'll have to see. It's not on the newest growth. Only time will tell. But hey, I think currently there's 20 cucumbers in the house. And we got plenty more on other vines. It just amazes me we've kept them alive during all this blistering heat, with more to come in the month ahead. Now, I'm sure it'll be sensationalized, just like everybody has on Maine and social media. And you can see that sky up there, except for some real wispy clouds. Woo, it's going to be clear and bright blue, and it's already heating up too. Now, this particular cucumber planting is 2 of the burpless bush hybrids from fine folks at Bonnie. Already starting to wilt from the morning sun. And we picked this clean yesterday of everything of size. And look right in there at that one. That one's perfect. Woo! That's just perfect. Got one more there, one more over down in there. These just keep producing. Looky there. They're everywhere. There's one way down there. Hey, that's pickle size. We need to do some picking today, don't you think? And make some refrigerator pickles while they're small. Some things are just not the best when they're the biggest. And that goes for pickles. I don't know if you can see him, but right there is one of Mr. Bumble's working these cucumber flowers. They're everywhere. That's one thing, the bees, they love cucumber flowers. You know, people spend money and make all of these pollinator gardens. Hey, plant cucumbers. There's a ton of blossoms. And I'm going to tell you, the bees just love them. Look at that one right there. Woo! That is a beauty. Woo, yeah. I'll probably get $1 a piece for one like that. Superfood's getting up to 74 cents. But she's still producing. These vines are, but if you look close at the leaves, you're going to see spots. No, they're not grayish or whitish on the surface. And they sort of look like, if you look close at a cucumber leaf, you'll see it's segmented. You see? And you'll see certain segments are turning yellow. See down here? It's like a patchwork quilt. Or the coat of many colors. But this is not a good thing. And it's not powdery mildew, but it is a type of mildew. It's called downy mildew. And what can you do? Well, let it run its course. Some cucumber varieties are resistant to it and can live with it. Others will succumb and die. I've yet to see what the burpless bush hybrid from Bonnie is going to do. You'll see. Not so much on the newer leaves up top. None on the very newest leaves. But when you come on down to the bottom, that's when you start to see it. Look at that one. Look at these. Yep. Plenty of yellowing. And it's all in the little segments of the leaves. And if you see that on your cucumbers, and you don't see the powdery portion that looks like fuzz on the surface, well then you'll know instead of powdery mildew, you have downy mildew. You can look all this up for further information if you would like. Ooh, got to get up off that ground. I'm getting old. Hard to get off that ground. We'll come on over here and take a look at this here banana pepper. Sweet, that is. Oh, wow. There's one in there that needs picked. Look at the size of that thing. Woo. There's another one on the other side. Looking a little rough. The slugs really love peppers. But it's got some new ones coming on. Yeah, we've had this one since March. Didn't even put it in the ground till June. Now the kitty crew went up to Superfood and bought me this one, because they didn't think the one over there would make it. And it's just loaded with peppers. It's got so many peppers on it. Look at there. Can't even hold them all up. Ooh, and I love them. I'll just be out here checking things. I'll snip one off and start eating it right off the plant. It don't get no better than that. And look at these beans. And here again, the bees, they service these blossoms too. These are the rattlesnake pole beans from Haas. And look how beautiful their blossoms are. Simply stunning. Woo! They went all the way up, over 10 feet high, and they're coming back down to the ground. Plus they're starting to sprout laterals in the leaf crotches. Yep. This is a wall of beans. We'll just step back so you can see. We just keep going and going till we can get it all in the frame. There you have it. Hey, did you know beans make a wonderful privacy fence? Yeah, I've actually done that. And I probably will next year along the back property line that we're clearing. Now here's one of our little lunchbox peppers. This is a red, and it's having more blossoms than that. Look at the cicadas. Ooh, you have to come by and visit with Mr. Tom towards dusk. When these little boys and girls start singing, it gets deafening out here. I've been on the phone with friends, and they'll ask me if it's the birds. I go, oh no, it's the cicadas singing their summer song. And then they shed their skins as they evolve. Do you know they actually live in the ground during the winter time? I didn't till a few years back. I'm not sure what they're good for. I never looked into it in depth. But if you know, you can let us all know in the comments below the video. I know this, they don't hurt nothing. Yep. I don't think there's any more peppers on this one. I think I munched them all off. Yes, I did. I got the last one. I think it was yesterday. That's the red lunchbox from Bonnie. So we'll turn over here and take a look at our other pepper plant. This is a poblano, and it's setting new blossoms, and that doesn't currently have a pepper on it. And if you don't know, I'll tell you. Peppers are part of the nightshade family too, like tomatoes and eggplants. And when the heat gets above 85 into the 90s, they tend to want to drop their blossoms, and the blossoms will not set, therefore producing fruit, i.e. the pepper. Yeah, some varieties will, others will not. I've watched this one drop them. In fact, there's one right there. You see it? Right there. That was a nice new one coming on. See the little pepper inside? And it said, nope, it's too hot for me, and dropped it aside. That's what they'll do. They're actually conserving their energy. But once these temperatures start to dwindle down, and especially at night, you see, most people get it wrong. Your nightshade family will set fruit if the average temperature is below 85. It's not the high, it's the average that shuts them down. Just a little, scientific gardening tip there for all of you, regardless of what you've heard from others on social media. But that's the old beanpole planting, as we call it. It's looking fine today as we head on over here to the old compost pile, which is still composting. but growing so much more. I mean, look right there. That's the end of an acorn squash that goes all the way, falls along all the way over to there. I'd say probably about 20 feet. Intermixed, as you can see, are tomato plants, all of which are volunteers. Yep. Don't know what we'll get, but we're anxiously waiting. Plenty of blossoms on them, as you can see. And whoo, they smell so tomatoey. Yes, they do. And that acorn squash has got squashes all along it. Now, I'm not gonna get in there and mess with it too much. Let's see if we can find one. Look at that one right there. And I'm sure if we dig, we'll find many more along the vine, because that's just what they do. They'll set fruit all along the vine if you let it run. And you can trellis them, but they don't naturally trellis. And you got to help them along. Here's some more volunteer tomatoes. Yep, don't know whether they'll be from the celebrities that we always grow here, or from some that, you know, I buy through the winter months from superfoods. We're just waiting to see. Oh, I see some tomatoes. Let's go check them out. Be very, very quiet. They may still be asleep. Yep, looky there. Yep. There's the first two that I've seen on these volunteer tomato plants over here in the compost pile. Woo, I can't wait to see them size up and try them out. And if I like them, I'll save their seed. Why not? See what they do in 2024. You know, that's how new varieties come to be. You see, here's just another example. If you look really close, deep in there, you'll see another big acorn. You'll see another one here. Let's go right here. There's another where this vine is branched out. And I'm sure, oh, there's another right in there forming up. See it? I don't know how many acorns there are along this squash. I think last time I actually poked around, there was over a dozen, with more coming on. And if you're not growing acorn squash, which is a winter squash, not that it's grown in the winter, but it stores over winter into the spring and early summer too. In fact, at the very end of this video, I'll show you one that I've had since September of 2022. That's some storage. Try to get that from potatoes or onions or other vegetables. It ain't gonna happen. So if you're really worried about food and there not being any, and you're gardening and you're not growing winter squashes like acorn, butternut, oh, there's others too, Hubbards, Delecticas, then hey, you're not too worried. You might want to check in to growing you some winter squash to get you through the winters like our elders did too. I know all of mine did. They always had them. They were either in the basement or the root cellars, because I'm the one that'd send to get them when the winter skies turn dark and the winter winds turn cold. But just a thought. This was a volunteer, and as you all know, back in March we snuck some other volunteers out of here of these squash, and they're planted in other areas, and they're doing just fine. Didn't cost me a cent, just like this here other volunteer cucumber right here, which we've already enjoyed 3 or 4 cucumbers off of them. They're rather tasty. You can see another new one coming on right there. Another nice little curved one right there. I'm sure there's more in here. But we're not going to play with all too much. Yep, there's a nice one there. They'll be ready tomorrow. There is no fear that old Mr. Tom, even though some of his cucumber vines may be sick, that he's going to run out of cucumbers anytime soon. These are just highly productive. I'm going to have to save some seed. And they're tasty too. See, there's two more little ones right down there. They're everywhere. Yeah, and you would think people would want them. But nah, cucumbers just aren't a favorite for very many people, I guess. But they're a favorite of mine. If you look up the benefits of cucumbers, not only hydration, but vitamins and minerals too. They even got some of those antioxidants that are great to fight cancer. Can't beat it. But there's a lot of food growing on in this compost pile, none of which I planted, bought seeds for, or cost me anything except my time and my effort, and on occasion some watering too. But don't take much, because it's all in deep mulch. We even got some onions stuck in here. They're hard to see. Yeah, there's some right there coming through. So there's cucumbers, there's squash, there's tomatoes, and onions. Now, I could probably cook and make a dish from just that too. Over here we got our, famous cardboard, Amazon cardboard worm box. Yeah, the rain's got it a little bit sad, but that's okay. We sort of got an experiment going on. Of course, I already know how it's all going to end. Yep. We got the box. We're making a pile beside it. We're going to see which one decays the fastest. My bet's on box. What's yours? And over here we got one of those there larger, reusable, outdoor pop fly traps from the fine folks at Rescue. These are not disposable. You actually dispose of the mess inside, but you can see it's filling up. And when it's full and all dried out, you dump the flies and it'll stink and it's nasty in your compost. Yep, because the worms love the flies. And they make refills for it. But I'll tell you a little trick. Yeah, you can leave out other things like meat, let it start to rot, drop it in, the flies will come. Trust me, they will. Maybe not as much as pheromones and bait that you can buy. But the bait refills are $5.99. The meat, especially if you got it and can, afford a little less, bacon will work. Yep. It'll take a little bit longer to start its decomposition. But you can just see. The flies love these things. Not sure what's in them. Well, now we're open. We've made it over to the pepper and tomato patch. Well, now it's pepper, squash, tomato, and onion patch. And these here acorn plant right here was one of the volunteers we snuck out of the compost pile. I actually did a video about that, free plants, no cost. Now I might tack it on to the end of this video, on the end screen, in case you didn't watch it, because we snuck these out in March, 6 of them, and 6 cucumber plants. Well, then you all know how wacky our spring was. I mean, we had days that were 20 degrees in the mornings, and we had days that topped out 85, nearly 90 in the days. Up and down, up and down. So they never got planted. And then, of course, what happened to me, where I nearly died on April the 25th. So they just didn't get planted. till what, first or second week in June. But let me show you something. Let's go into the depths of the mother squash plant. You can plainly see there's 1, 2, 3, another one under it, 4, 5. There's 5 squash, acorn squash on this here one plant, with more to come, as you can see, because now it's starting to run and vine. But just look at how big it is. This thing must be 6 feet around before it's even starting to run on its vine. I mean, it's taking over my onion planting. I got one onion that heroically is making it up through it, and the rest down here, they're still growing, but the squash will soon overtake them. I'm betting on the squash. Now you notice this line of celebrity tomatoes looking a little rough. Everything's sort of knocked over. And that's because yesterday afternoon I was actually tying these up because I knew the storm front was coming. I got the first row behind it all tied up, but the lightning got too intense for me to stick it out to finish this. I got the one side you can see, but there was no line over here, so I'm going to have to gently pick these up. I'm going to wait till the sun comes on because they're going to try to stand up themselves, and that'll help me later this afternoon get them up and get the other line ran to support them. They'll look a little janky for a day or two, but as you know, they'll straighten up and run true. They'll follow that sun. Most plants will. But they're loaded up with blossoms, and I do know they have some tomatoes too. You just have to get in there and look down. And I really don't want to mess with them now because they're a little unhappy. I think maybe we can see some if we sneak on inside the tomato patch. Right here we got some, either cherry bell or crimson giant radishes growing along that soaker hose. Let's sneak on in here. I don't think they'll mind. We are now entering the tomato jungle. And you're going to see we're still fighting disease. I'll have to spray these either this afternoon or tomorrow. Yep, still got the leaf spot. It comes and goes. The peroxide will kill it off, but I know it's going to come back. Now look up under here, see if you can find any tomatoes. Excuse me. Oh, I see one right there. See, right there. You see it? That's a pretty one. Let's look in here. There's another one too. Now I'm sure if we look hard enough, we'll find many more. Well, woo, that sun's starting to beat down upon my back and my head. Here's another one of those volunteer squash. Now it's running early. I don't think it's even got a squash. Not yet. But it's starting to run up on the pile. And that's exactly where I want it to be. That was my plan. I planted these here along this pile just so they could run up over it and cover this mess up till I get it burned off this coming winter. Remind me so I can get her done finally. But yeah, we're in the tomato jungle, and these are up to my chest high once they're strung up. I'm using the modified Florida weave technique. The peppers will sneak back down in here. Let me show you. Look at there. There's another one right there. Nice size. Look at this. It's got 2 big ones right there. See? So heavy. It's bowed the plant down to the ground. Look at here. Look at that one. Nice. And they just keep coming on. Look in here. 1, 2, 3. There's one over there. There's another one of our cicada friends. Maybe they help us set fruit. Who knows? I'm going to have to learn more about our little singing friends. But there's one there. Smaller one there. And there. And there. See them? Yeah. And I'm sure on that one too. Let's easily turn around so we don't disturb our celebrity tomatoes that are probably still asleep. We got to get in here and do some pruning today. Yeah, in the blazing heat, to get them ready to spray later today. Now, most of you know this bed as the old raised bed. We refurbished it back in 2018, and I put some new timbers on it. Well, not new, better 20-year-old ones on it just a week or two back to top it on off from the old timber pile. But you can see, since the last time we did a garden walkabout, we got some things starting to come up and grow on. Now these, here again, are the cherry bell radishes. I didn't even think they'd come up as hot as it's been, but they have. I water them every day. And we're going to eat the greens, if nothing more. We'll see if they'll make a bulb. I'm sort of curious. I've never grown radishes this time of year. We got 2 more rows planted right here in succession that we just planted 2 days ago. And you can see the little bitty tiny ones coming up right there. Yeah. Now you might wonder what all this is here. Well, that's another leafy green. You can say, well, it's got red stems, Mr. Tom. Like rhubarb. Well, yes it does. Because that is actually red rhubarb Swiss chard. Yep. Some people just refer to it as red Swiss chard. Some seed companies call it rhubarb Swiss chard. It's yummy. And it's been doing pretty good. And it should do well in this heat. Now it'll grow slow, but it'll still grow. And come fall, when the temperatures start to wane, it'll take off. It surely will. It'll go from the turtle mode to the rabbit mode rather rapidly. So we've got our radishes started and our Swiss chard started for the fall yet to come. And of course we've had these onions in here for quite some time. They'll be coming out as we cook with them. Some are already missing, as you might see. And there's another cicada hull or skin where they shed them. A much smaller one, as you can see. Things like this have always amazed me since I was a child. But boy, these onions, it takes me a while to consume just one. You see how long these here greens are? And all of that is edible. And will add a nice, mild onion flavor to any dish. Soups, stews, casseroles. Just come out and cut one off to put in your scrambled eggs. Yeah. Or come out and cut several off to put in those morning fried potatoes that you're going to have with your scrambled eggs. And maybe a couple sausage links too. Now I did notice one thing that rather surprised me. And it's right here. Oops, I almost knocked over the pole. You see right here? That's a volunteer tomato. And if you remember, last year we had cherry tomatoes right here. If I remember right, they were the husky cherry tomatoes. Well, this one because I've been watering this bed, this tomato sprouted. And let me show you something else. If you look right here, you'll see an onion seed head. There was one right here too, and I plucked it off when it was dry and spread the seed all out all over this area. And hadn't seen anything yet, but right there, look at there. There's an onion coming up. Here's another one right beside it. From the seed of these right here. And I'm sure if we look harder, there's many more. Because I spread a ton of seed from the seed heads that you've seen as we've done our walkabouts before, from this small onion planting right here. So the old raised bed, it's got some things coming on. And as the temperatures change and the seasons change, there'll be far more to come. But look at this. It's sort of peaceful and unique. The beanpole planting right up over there. The compost planting. Our pepper, squash, and tomato patch. Now the old raised bed. And some people have asked me why I do this. Why I just don't put them all in one place. Well, hey, my doctor a long time ago, when I was having some heart issues, told me I had to start walking more. Of course, he didn't know in my particular line of profession at the time, I walked several miles a night. Oh, well, there's Speedy. Boy, you got up late today, Speedy. Yeah, she's running to get breakfast. Yeah, she heard my voice. She was sleeping under the truck. Oh my, we still got so much to do. Oh, you just get it one thing at a time. Ah, that shade with that breeze feels mighty nice. Cause yeah, with the humidity and the heat already starting to come on, we're starting to perspire a little. Imagine that. Well, let's go over here to the old tire pole plant, or tire planting as we call it. Yep. Got to come over here and do a little more weed whacking. Try to keep this area clear this year. Oh. You want to see my chewy box? That's for my shade, for my transplanted okra, right here. And it's starting to do fine now. It may survive the sun now, all on its own, without its little canopy. Yeah. Might. I don't know. We'll keep an eye on it today. If it needs a little help, we'll go ahead and put its shade cloche back on. There's a lot you can do with cardboard boxes, you know. And this plant came out of that tire planter right there. I took two out. It was nearly this big when I took it out. And you see how well it's doing now. Of course, it's been out now about 5 days. It struggled and got rather limp. And it would have never made it unless I would have not put this here cardboard on it, which ain't too hard. You see right there? Now it's all shaded, and will be till the sun starts to lower in the west. Look at here. Got us a nice kale still growing. This one's doing mighty fine. I want to talk to you about the kale, because it too has come up with a disease. But look at these okra plants. They've just taken off. That's why I'm taking ones out and planting them elsewhere, as you saw. But over here in the kale forest, yeah, I'm not sure how long it'll make it. If I can keep it going till September, it'll been in the ground for a year. but it's got a disease, as you might suspect. You see, the high heat, high humidity, and I mean this time of year, diseases are prevalent, as we all know. And you can see the results right here. You see the blackening? Sort of looks like soot. Well, it's not. Yeah, and it didn't fall from the sky. I'm thinking it was brought along by an insect. I got to check into it, but I know what it is. And yes, it's bacteria leaf wilt 2. Yeah, just for kale. Isn't that special? So there's one for the cucumbers and one for the kale. There's one for tomatoes and other veggies too. But it doesn't mean you can't still dine on some fine kale. You just got to get ahead of the leaves that are infected. Get these first before they look like this. Or like this. Get them when they're nice and green. Yeah. Now what I was wanting to do is keep this alive long enough because I want to make a walking stick from one of these kale stems. When they dry, they get as hard as wood. And I've seen other people do it. And I've seen them for sale in old hardware stores and general stores too. So if I can, this one here looks like it'll make a fine one. And maybe that one too. We'll just have to see. We just got to keep them alive. August through September. Not so much about eating them, because I got more kale in pots over by the south side garden bed. So I'm not careless yet. Here, the 31st, end of July. Look how tall they are. Nothing more. I'm quite pleased with how they've grown. They came through the Arctic blast. Well, we lost all but 3. Picked up some more from superfoods and replanted. Yeah, I think that was in March. So yeah, the smaller ones are only been in since March. The tallest 3, which were the survivors of the Arctic blast in 2022, yeah, they're nearly a year old. Hey, we'll have to have a special party to celebrate their first birthday. What do you say? And then over here, we have another acorn squash. Yes, it was one of those there transplants we snuck out of the old compost pile. And it's got its first squash right down there. Yes, it does. I'm thinking I'll have many acorn squash to put away for the winter months to come. Now here was that second okra plant. It was smaller that I snuck out of the old tire planter. Except I wasn't paying attention, and the heat pretty much burnt all of its leaves off but the top 2. They survived only because I covered this up with the old blueberry nursery pot right there, which I'm about to do while we're all here. So we'll just set that on and put it in the shade. Get some rest. I'll be back later in the day to uncover you, because this planting gets in the shade around 3 this afternoon. At least it misses the rest of the blazing heat. With the rain coming every, 4 to 5 to 7 days, the yard's looking rather good, I would say. Come fall time too, we got to replant this place, that became a hole and was refilled when the old oak was taken down several months back. I planted some old grass seed here, nearly a whole bag. Didn't much happen. I guess it just got too old. But I'll get some new, replant again once the temperatures come down. This is just a hard time of year to start anything from seed. It can be done, but losses will be great, and things are expensive. There'll be plenty of time when the fall time and cool breezes return. Whew. Well, that's quite a breeze coming now. And with me getting a little moist, as you will soon see, yeah, that evaporative cooling kicks in. And that's a good thing. And I did tell you it had rained. And we're going to take a look at the rain gauge right here. Oh, this okra planting is doing fine. We got to sneak some out of here and find a new home too. But there's the old rain gauge. And what does it say? 8/10 from yesterday. We'll take it. Every last drop. Saved me from having to water today. Or at least this morning. Hold on. We'll come back, put you up later when we got both hands. But yeah, we got another one of those acorn squash right here. Yep, it is yet to have an acorn. Well, I lied. I'm sorry, folks. Let's get on down in here. I hadn't seen it. Yeah, it's a baby right there. Oh joy. We got some more okra seedlings right here. Probably sneak them out and take them somewhere else too. Now, even though Mr. Tom has failures, and he'll show them to you. This was the Tammy G grape tomato. For whatever reason, it didn't like it here in the Southside garden bed. And I think it's succumbed from root rot, from best I could tell. And one of the symptoms is, you see those root nodes where it's wanting to put on roots all along its stem? Well, that happens when the plant comes under stress. Primarily when its below ground roots start to die. And I've been having to pour the water on this planting to keep everything alive. And I think poor Tammy G, she just drowned. What do you do? It was burning up and suffering from leaf scorch from the blazing sun, which it wouldn't have survived. So either way, I don't think the Tammy G would have made it in the deep south and stayed alive. You know, if you've ever grown a Tammy G grape tomato this far south, let me know. I'd be interested in hearing your thoughts in the comments below. But our collards are still doing fine. Yes, they are. Too fine. The one thing I'm doing this year is I'm eating a lot of greens. Let me tell you. But the husky red cherry tomato, it didn't succumb from the root rot. And it's got quite a few fruits starting to mature with more to come. And yeah, in this heat, some of its blossoms are failing too, but some are not. If we can keep it alive and surviving, come fall, it too will take off and thrive. And here again, this gets to cucumbers. These were 2 volunteers we snuck out of the compost pile back in March. Yep, put them in little 6-pack and grew them and planted them when we got out of the hospital back on April the 25th in the following week. Yeah, it's volunteer. We don't know what we'll get, but so far it hasn't had any disease whatsoever. No powdery mildew, no downy mildew, nothing. It's not a super producer, but it is producing, as you can see. And I've already ate 2 off of this planting. And there's many more to come as you look on up through there. Right there. Just come down and count. There's 3. There's 4. 5. Let's see. 6. 7. Yeah, we're not going to go without cucumbers yet. They're doing fine. And they're tasty too. And they look so beautiful, let me tell you. We tried to plant some more Boston pickling cucumbers. The only one came up right there. And the slugs, well, they thought it was rather tasty too. Pretty much eating it alive. Here was 3 more okra seedlings we started. I got to get at least 2 of them out of here. And then here underneath, another planting of the rattlesnake pole beans. These are mine. Rattlesnake pole bean, Kentucky Wonder Cross. Yep, if you look right down here at the base, you'll see some little green sprigs coming up. This is garlic. Yeah, I had some garlic that got under a bag of carrots and started to sprout. And I almost threw it away. And I thought, well, hey, indeed it's earlier than I've ever planted garlic. But hey, what do I got to lose? I'll give it a try. And it all sprouted and has come up too. But these beans have struggled, and they wouldn't even be alive if I hadn't put the shade cloth up. They're just starting to bloom too. So that's a good sign. See right here? And I can tell these are my cross, because look at all the different blossoms. It'll have white, it'll have yellow, and purple too, just like the Haws. Rattlesnake ones do. See? There's a purple starting there. So these are the cross that I've been trying to develop now. For what? Since 2018 or 2019? I think it's 2018. And here's some more over here too. Complete with multicolored blossoms. These will be purple. These will be white. There's some white and yellow too, side by side. That's an amazing thing when vegetables in your garden cross too. Yeah, if you're not saving seed, you'll never know what you could have got and what you may have had. More collards down here on this end below the beans. Now, our straight-necked yellow squash, it ain't done much. I don't even think it's had a squash. Yeah, it might have that one right there. That'd be the first one this year. We can all hope and see. But normally, they haven't been pollinating, and they just shrivel up and fall off. And lastly, in this bed, there's 3 more of the Bonnie Choice collards down there. And one day this week, I got to come out and nip some leaves off and throw them in the pan. I'm thinking with some country ham. You talk about good eating. You throw them in a bowl, and it's a meal all in one. Make some biscuits and cornbread, and you'll think you're in heaven. Let me tell you, you will. And if you'd like, maybe I could share cooking it up for all of you too. It all depends on whether you will stop by. But since I put the shade cloth up, the south side garden bed has done much better. In fact, you can see right up there, the cucumbers have already made it past the shade cloth. I wish them luck in the blazing sun as we progress through the month of August yet to come. But in my mind, there's no prettier sight than a bed full of food. I'd rather have it than flowers any day. Well, I have flowers of a different sort. The blossoms from my veggies I grew. And you know, we still got kale growing over here in our pots, looking amazing. And we have a little collard cousin over there too. There's our garlic chives. As soon as fall comes and gardening prices plummet, I hope they do, I'm going to pick up a new plot. I've had those garlic chives for, I know, 20 years or more. And all you got to do to enjoy them is come out here, snip some ends off, take them in the house, mince them on up. Use them just like you would garlic, except they're very mild. So, you know, if you don't like a strong garlic flavor, may I suggest you put in some garlic chives. I think you'll love them too. I'll come out here and break the leaf off and munch on it. It's so mild. You can do it. I wonder if they make mild garlic flavored gum. That'd be a thing. At least it'd keep the vampires away. And there's only one last thing to show you before we call this one done. I know it's been long and we've walked a lot, but along the way you've heard the birds sing. You saw the kitty crew and all my garden plantings too. But let's look at one more before we call it. Ooh, we got to head on back out here in the blazing heat for just a moment, so don't fret. Well, it's going to be a little toasty and roasty. But see, we hadn't put anything in this little planter I made from a couple of landscape timbers 5 years ago. I planted cucumbers here, green beans. There's been okra, I think, last year. But I didn't have anything I wanted to put that I could think of. And I had those garlics heads that were going bad. So I broke them all up in the cloves and I put them right here. And you can see how well they're doing. Now, like I say, normally we would plant garlic this far south in early November. And I just planted this 3 days ago. You know, in the end of June. Or July, excuse me. Whew, it'd be nice if we could go back in time to June. But it's taken right off. Far better than the Southside Garden Bed garlic has. And it all came from the same bag of garlic from Spice World. And it's called California White. You can look all that up and find the info yourself. Yeah, I've heard many people say it won't sprout. It's a GMO. No such thing. It's just your standard California White. Oh, hundreds of millions of people probably consume it every year. But we'll see. I'm curious to see if planting it this early, if it'll still produce cloves and a bulb. But if nothing more, I do know what it will produce. It'll produce green garlic, and I can use that too. So yeah, there you have it. There's the walkabout for the last day in July, the 31st, 2023. And now the sun's up and above the trees, beating down on us. But at least we got a breeze. Ooh, look at those crepe myrtles. Still looking fine. Uh-oh. Yep. Not sure whether that's a hawk, a buzzard, or an eagle. But it does look fine. I'm not sure if you can see it. Can you up there? Just floating on the wind. By the looks of it, I'm thinking it could have been an eagle. We have those. We have the brown eagles and the bald. Well, there you have it, friends and family. That's the state of affairs in my neighborhood, my little piece of paradise in the deep south of Alabama, here on July the 31st, 2023. I hope you enjoyed walking along with me and the kitty crew too. and taking a look at all of our gardening plants and what we got going on and growing still this year through the blazing heat. And if you look at me, you can see, yep, I'm getting moist. And I'll get moister as the day goes on. So hey, I got to get on inside, check Gracie. Make sure she's okay, which I'm sure she is always. Make sure she hasn't turned down the AC too far. And you know, until we see you on that next video here in Mr. Tom's neighborhood, y'all take care. Stay safe. And may God bless you as you bless those in your lives. If you're out here and working in the heat, remember to stay hydrated. Take your minerals, vitamins, and electrolytes too. And hey, you don't got to do it all in one day. You can come back tomorrow. It'll be there for you. So yeah, I'm taking it on inside. I'm going to grab me some of those electrolytes too from the fine folks at Propel and rehydrate and get ready to come back out and get those tomatoes tied up before the next storm front blows through. So with all of that, I bid you adieu. Goodbye for now. Whew, it is starting to sizzle. You can tell because the kitties are in the shade. Yeah, Spooky, are you already laying underneath the hedge? Or is that you, Speedy? Nope, that's Speedy, chilling under the Buford hedge. Yeah, they'll all find a cool place, I know. And I'm going to go enjoy some cool for a minute, too. Later, all.